You are now listening to the Outsiders Sports Show right here on The Hog, the most comprehensive and hard-hitting sports hour on radio today. And now, coming at you with their unabashed sports magnetism, here are your hosts, Clint, Switzer, and Noah Groniger.
Welcome, everyone, to the Outsiders Sports Show. Clint, Switzer, and Noah Groniger joining me here on The Hog. So happy to be on a frozen, chosen Saturday morning. Are we ready for this, Noah? Are you bundled up? Do you have your hot cup of cocoa next to you? Because we're going to doggone need it.
Yes, we are. The Chiefs are back. It's great to have them back. They crushed the Washington Redskins. BCS Bulls, where we figured out what those are. Those are going to get underway here in a little bit. It's great to be here.
We have a lot to talk about, a lot of great guests coming up. We're going to have George Atkinson, the former Raider, and he's going to be coming on talking Chiefs-Raiders with us as the Chiefs coming off a 45-10 victory over the Washington Redskins. The Raiders in a bit of a free fall. You know, they're at 4-9 right now, and just a season that's really gotten away from the Raiders. Quarterback situation's kind of a problem. We're going to talk to George about that. Just Matt McGloin's come in and played well. And there's some pieces on this Raiders team, but again, you look up, Raiders are 4-9, just kind of what the Raiders have done for the past decade plus. Haven't had a winning season in 11 years, and the Chiefs have had some success going after the black hole and winning. Yeah,
they've got a receiver that's coming on too, and Andre Holmes. Denarius Moore has been injured, he's been out, so Andre Holmes has stepped in and stepped up. He's had a few 100-yard games, and him and Matt McGloin are really clicking. Sounds like Darren McFadden is going to be out. That actually kind of hurts the Chiefs because Rashad Jennings, their backup, is running really well, and McFadden just can't seem to keep his career going.
Well, we're going to be talking a lot of NFL, certainly as the show goes on. Also, former Chief wide receiver JJ Burton is going to join us, talking about his career in the NFL. Of course, you remember JJ from the early to mid-'90s playing here in Kansas City, had a very good career here playing, he was on that team, the last team that won a playoff game. I'm going to have to ask about that, talk about playing with Joe Montana. Everyone remembers JJ Burton. Just a great guy, class act. Going to be talking to him later on in the show. Also going to be talking a lot of college football. You mentioned the BCS. It's all underway. The bowl games are out. The SEC championship game. No, we were there in Atlanta. Missouri came up short against Auburn. What an impressive offensive performance for the Auburn Tigers last week in Atlanta as they ran over Missouri, almost 600 yards rushing, 59-42. Auburn vaults into the BCS championship game, and they'll play Florida State. We're going to be talking all the bowls later on as a couple weeks down the road as they get
Cotton Bowl, baby!
Missouri goes to the Cotton Bowl to take on a former Big 12 foe, Oklahoma State. That's going to be an interesting game, I'll tell you what. Some offensive fireworks to be sure in that game. But as we stick with the NFL talk, we stick with the Chiefs right now, a team that had lost 3 straight games, 2 of them to Denver. This is a team that needs to start winning divisional games. I think I read a stat somewhere the Chiefs are something like 12-28 in the last 7 years in the division. That's not going to cut it.
And I've heard Peyton Manning has yet to lose a divisional game. So that's very impressive. He's yet to lose one. He's got the San Diego Chargers, Oakland Raiders, and our Kansas City Chiefs whipped right now in this division.
Yeah, well, this division, Denver has really 2 games on the Chiefs right now because, they own the tiebreaker. They've beaten the Chiefs twice. They're the class of this division, the class of this league. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's going to be about finishing the season strong, locking up your playoff spot, and trying to maneuver. And I'll tell you what, this Chiefs offense, as bad as it had been through the first really 9 weeks plus, on into the first Denver game, the last 3 games, the Chiefs offense has been better. There's been more balance. Alex Smith has played a little bit better now. They didn't really need to throw the ball in this last game against Washington. It was frozen field. Kept the ball on the ground, had 2 special teams touchdowns. Yep, why not? 45-10. That's really all you need to know about that game. But going forward, can you take any promise in knowing that this offense can formulate drives, can make some plays in the passing game when it has to?
Not really. I mean, we did one against the San Diego Chargers. They're just a hapless team. And the comeback that fell short against the Denver Broncos, you just always know that Peyton Manning's going to get the better out of that situation. If we face a Tom Brady, he's going to get the better out of that situation. Obviously, Alex Smith on that last drive against the Broncos tried to look off a safety, threw it back, and it was just too high for Dwayne Bowe, and you just knew that that game was gone when it was 21-7. Then the Broncos come back and are leading 35-28. The Washington Redskins, it looks like they quit. They're just a hapless team out there as well. Just
look at the body language. RG3 is now being benched, by the way, by Mike Shanahan. This is controversial. Dan Snyder, the owner of the Redskins, thinks he backs this move by playing Kirk Cousins the last couple games. RG3, his body language looked to me like a player that was beat up. Team was in the tank. He wasn't the Madden cover boy, commercial. What is he, Adidas? I think all these commercials, and he wasn't the RG3 that we came into the season hoping for, and that's been all season.
Yeah, I think Mike Shanahan wants to shut him down just to kind of save him and let him kind of get re-energized and refocused and healthy for next season, because he is their franchise quarterback, and right now he just looks lost. The passing game's not clicking at all, and they just want to get him ready for the next season.
Well, and that begs the question, does Mike Shanahan keep his job? This is, of the 4 years he's been there, I think I think they've only had one winning season in his time there in Washington, and I think he should be gone. I think we've seen enough. I think Dan Snyder, I think that relationship is crippled. We know what happens when there's problems between management and coaching. We've seen that here in Kansas City. Washington just looks like a franchise ready to try to keep the pieces they have right now and kind of start over.
He's a Super Bowl winning coach, 2-time with the Denver Broncos. I think he gets another year to see if he can get RG3 healthy and get clicking and get back to the playoffs like they did in their first year when RG3 was completely healthy. And just got injured in that last playoff game. So I think he gets one more year to see if he can kind of rewrite the ship, get it going in the right direction with a healthy RG3, and if not, then he's out the door.
There's a website online that's, and I can't remember the exact title of the website, but it's like it's a playoff prediction machine. It may be something like playoff machine, prediction machine, something like that, guys. And you run all the numbers through it. It looks like right now, if you're going to run the playoff scenarios through it, the Kansas City's going to Indianapolis in the wild card round.
Yeah.
Is that what I mean? If that's going to be the case, where do you gauge the Chiefs' chances of winning a playoff game, going up to Indy and winning, or will we know more after we actually play the Colts at Arrowhead in a couple weeks?
Well, we're definitely going to know more, but if you're asking me right now, I'd give it less than a 50% chance. If you're going to Indianapolis, I like the Colts at home. If you look back at our history, looks like we're kind of doomed to repeat history until they can show me that they can change it. We always lose to the Colts in the playoffs, so I definitely like the Colts to win that game.
And as the rest of the AFC goes, we've seen another problem with the New England Patriots. They just have not been able to quite. I mean, they're 10-3. Is this the best job Bill Belichick coaching job yet? A 10-3 team with all these problems?
I think it is. I mean, you've had an injured Rob Gronkowski come back, and he just tore his ACL, so now he's out for the year. But you've got the rookie wide receivers. You've got Danny Amendola, always injured, not really assimilating into the offense. So the only real passing threat he has is Julian Edelman. And with the running backs, they keep fumbling. They're benched. They're inactive for games. Shane Vereen's coming back. It's given them a little extra push, kind of like a Marshall Faulk back there. He can catch it. He can run the routes like a wide receiver. He can take it out of the backfield. And their defense is starting 5 rookies. So they've lost Vince Wilfork. Aqib Talib's been injured. They lost Gerard Mayo. I mean, they've got a lot of issues, and they're still near the top of the league, one game behind the New England Patriots. So, or the Denver Broncos,
yeah.
I mean. So, I think this is the best coaching job that Bill Belichick has done.
And maybe
so
the
far.
best job. I know Tom Brady's stats have not been up, but is this Tom Brady's a season that you can, that in 10 years, you're going to look back to and go, wow, look what Tom Brady did with that team?
Yeah, I think it's more than stats. I think you're going to look at the fourth quarter comebacks and leading the teams back from being down when the wide receivers are dropping the ball, the running backs are fumbling the ball, all the injuries, all the rookies. You're going to look at just how far Tom Brady took these New England Patriots, and you're going to say, wow.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to be previewing Chiefs and Raiders coming up after the break with George Atkinson, so stay tuned right here on The Hog, the Outsider Sports Show coming at you. And welcome back to The Hog, KKES-FM here on the Outsider Sports Show. Clint Switzer and Noah Groniger being joined by one of our best friends of the show, George Atkinson. George, it's been a couple weeks. Welcome back. How's everything in your world, buddy?
Hey, man, just got back from New York, and it's quite cold there, as you all know, and just trying to get settled in back to California-type weather. And, you know, this weekend is a crucial weekend. I think the next 3 weekends is crucial for players and coaches on the Raiders staff, because when you look at the season, I think judgment will be passed in the next 3 games.
Well, I wanted to start with that and with the Raiders because a lot of people talking about teams like the Washington Redskins, who the Chiefs just went and pounded 45-10. That looks like a situation that's just crumbling. Coach probably fired, not on the same page. But then when we talk about the Raiders, we're talking about players that are playing for a coach that's going to be there next year. They have some pieces. This is not a crumbling organization right now that is just going to quit and give up. Dennis Allen said himself he wants to gauge next year and their playoff possibilities by how they play in these next 3 division games. Is that the attitude that you're getting around this Raiders team right now?
Oh, without doubt. I mean, next 3 games is an audition for not only the players, but for coaches. And you'll find out who's for real and who's not, because when you have nothing to play for, it's very easy to go out and just give half of your performance best and walk off the field and wait until the season's over so you can get home. But what you're looking for are those guys who are going to give you 120% and more. You're looking for those guys who doesn't look at the season as being a waste, but look at the season as being, hey, this is an opportunity for me to present myself and to show that I'm a professional football player. And I think the nucleus of this team could be built from a number of players who are playing this year. So it's not the kind of thing where you go into and say, hey, I want to get this over, because actually a lot of players' existence, as well as coaches' existence, depends on what happens in the next 3 games. So there are a number of guys who I think are fighting not only for jobs but for careers.
Are Raiders fans and coaches sold on Matt McGloin at all, or are they looking forward to Johnny Manziel in the draft or another quarterback?
I got no idea what's going on with that. You look at the quarterback situation, Johnny Manziel would not bring what the Raiders need. I know other player coming out of college right into the pros, because hey, it's not that kind of a profession where guys can just walk off the street and come in, and that's what I said about Manziel. Certainly a great college player, but he has no pro experience at all. And for any pro team to hang their hat on this guy coming in and being their savior, well, that team is going to be in trouble. And I just don't see that happening. I think the Raiders have to develop within their own organization. I think that the quarterback situation is definitely an issue, but Johnny Manziel is not the solution as far as what the Raiders need.
Well, Darren McFadden once again injured, out for this game. We've got Rashad Jennings, who's been very successful. What do you see from him in this game and for possibly next year taking over for McFadden, as McFadden's in a contract year?
Well, not only him, Marcel Reese showed that he can also carry the football last week.
Oh, yeah.
Against the Jets. So McFadden's situation, nothing leaves nothing. And this guy hasn't given the Raider organization anything. So if you continue to put your hat on this guy, I mean, you're only going to get so many games a year out of him. That's proven. And then you have to rely on your backups. Well, you need a guy who can come in and show that he is the number 1 running back for your team, and then you fill in behind him. I don't know if McFadden is that guy. And when you look at his production over the last few years, it hasn't been much of a production at all. That's why I say nothing from nothing leaves nothing. He hasn't given this team anything that they can hang their hats on, so why would you give him anything that would bring him in a mode as a feature back? I don't see him being a feature back, especially here. Maybe somewhere else, who knows? But I just don't see McFadden being the guy that you hang your hat on as far as a running back is concerned. One of the things the Raiders definitely need to address is the running game, and that starts up front. So I think the Raiders definitely have to address the offensive line first on the offense, and then the running game, and then receiver.
Well, you mentioned just getting back from New York, and Geno Smith and the Jets had been struggling leading up into that game. Oakland goes out there, and the Jets are able to get a win. How disconcerting was that for you that, Oakland, who had come off some close games, they'd come off a last-second loss to the Tennessee Titans, a game on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys in which they led 21-7, I believe, early in that game and let it get away from them. How disconcerting was it to go to New York and a chance to make a statement, get a win against a struggling team, but was not able to happen for the Raiders that day?
And like you just said, they are struggling. The Jets are. And to go and lose to them is not a pleasant feeling. And that's why I say that the next 3 games are crucial, not only for players, but for the coaching staff. I don't know that Dennis Allen is as secure as you said that he is. You know, this team needs somebody to come in with leadership who can swing it around, just like Kansas City had. You know, you went and got Andy Reid. That whole thing didn't change until you brought Andy Reid in, then you brought Alex Smith in, or vice versa. Who came first, I don't know. But the thing is that you got 2 key personnel people there, the coach and the quarterback on the same page, and you got a guy who knows how to win. And the big thing with the Raiders right now is that I think that, hey, there's a hump that they have to get over, and that hump is, hey, you got to learn how to win, and it doesn't come easy. You got to have buy-in. You got to have guys who are conscious of the fact that, hey, we are winners. You got to have your offense visioned out. When I say that, when we played, our offense consisted of a strong running game, a big offensive line who can move you around, and the left side especially. Everyone knew when we ran the ball, we were running the left side, but they had to stop it. You got to have receivers who can get open and go get the ball for you. You got to have a running game. So there are some holes that have to be filled personnel-wise that I think that not only does it start at the quarterback position, but as you did in Kansas City, you and I got a coach who understood the game and who understands the game and who brings something to the game. And does Dennis Allen have that? Well, only time will tell, because the next 3 games will determine whether I think where his future lies.
You mentioned needing big receivers, needing them to get open. How big has Andre Holmes been for you guys coming in for Denarius Moore, who's been injured the past couple weeks?
I think he's made a strong point for himself. I think there are a couple of receivers there who can help us. There are some receivers that we need to get rid of because they're not productive, and that's what you got to look for. You want guys who are going to play 100% for you. As I said, the next 3 games will determine whether certain guys stay around, certain guys go. And how will that be determined? The guys who are willing to give you maximum effort right through this time span, because it's easy to bag it in. And the ones who bag it in, those are the ones who you got to get rid of. And eventually they will reveal themselves, and the guys who are players will reveal themselves. And I think that's the big issue right now in the next 3 weeks for the coaching staff, because depending on the decisions that they make will also determine whether they're around or not. And it's going to be interesting to see how they play this thing out. I think Mark Davis and Reggie McKenzie both have done a great job in aligning the salary cap where you can go out and get players, but there's also you got to fill positions and you got to make decisions as to who stays and who goes. And I mean, 4 and whatever we are right now is not acceptable. It's not acceptable in pro football with any team who does not play up to their potential. And there are moves that will be made. They'll be made based on the powers to be, based on what they see and how they see it and what they think the needs are.
Well, the Raiders lost to the New York Jets last week. You guys have had a revolving door at the cornerback position for the past couple of years. You bring in a couple new corners. You draft one in DJ Hayden. How's it going there? Because the Jets were struggling to complete more than 4 or 5 passes a game, and then Geno completes, I believe, 12 on you guys. So what's going on in that secondary?
Well, that says that the corners you have to address. I think the safety position is pretty much in good hands. I think Charles Woodson has done an excellent job with his leadership qualities as well as making plays. I think Tyron Branch we missed because he was not in. He had injuries. Depending on how he comes back, will solidify the safety position. I think the corner that are made on these guys, it's evident that you got to find quality cornerbacks in order to stabilize that defense. Plus, I think there are two big linebacker position. I think you got guys who are active who can play there and can make a difference. But I think you need one defensive pass rusher and definitely a defensive run stopper. You got to have that guy in the middle. You got to have that guy who can get off the ball and get to the pass. And everything else plays into that. And I think the Raiders need two defensive linemen, definitely on the outside with the corners. You have to replace these guys, or you have to find guys who can do what you need done on the outside, and that's play man-to-man. If you don't have man-to-man on the outside, you're asking other guys to help your corners. And that takes away not only from pass defense, but it takes away from the run game, because if teams see you double covering on both sides or using your linebackers to help cover, well, wherever that linebacker vacates from, that's where they're going to run the football. And you got to have guys who can hold their own. If you don't get corners who can play man up, head up, and play aggressive defense, then you're asking for trouble, I think, with your defense. You can't do the things you need to do in this league, and that is blitz the quarterback, put pressure, and stop the run.
Well, I'll tell you what, George, the Chiefs are heading out to the Black Hole, of course, on Sunday. Been a kind of a crazy series the last decade, George, between these two teams. The Chiefs have only lost twice in Oakland in the last 11 years. And Oakland, I believe, won 6 straight times at Arrowhead here in the last decade. So as Kansas City comes out there, they have lost 3 out of the last 4 games, twice, of course, to Denver. How do you see this game playing out as Kansas City looks to improve their playoff position? Probably not going to be able to overtake Denver for the division, but trying to stay in that.
When you look at this division, Kansas City has lost 3 games, right? 3 games in the division already. Twice to Denver, once to Kansas City. So, evidently, they're not playing well in the division for whatever reasons are. And the Raiders have an opportunity to, join that group of division teams who have beat Kansas City. And I think, if they play the way they played the first half against Kansas City, I think they have a chance. But they have to get out and they have to believe that they can beat this team. And this team is beatable. Kansas City has lost 3 games in the division, and that should be an impetus for the Raiders to step up and bring their best game. And give them a 4th loss in the division. So, it's a chance for the Raiders to make a statement. They need to make that statement with contact, tough, hard-nosed football. And they need to take it to Kansas City early in the game because, when you look at Kansas City's offense, Jamal Charles is 75% of their offense. He has 13 touchdowns, 10 on the ground, 3 through the air. He has 50-some catches. He actually leads as far as balls being thrown to him. He has 59 balls he caught. So how many was thrown to him? So he's a big part of that offense. You have to shut him down. There's no question about it. You shut him down and let everybody else get whatever they get. They get it, but you shut him down because he is the guy. What is he? He's over 1,000 yards this year, rushing, and I think he has 500 or some yards through the year. And you look at their offense totally, this guy's a big part of their offense. So he's the guy you got to shut down.
It sounds like a good strategy, George. Hopefully you don't relay that to Dennis Allen. We need that win out there.
Hey.
If I have to relay that to Dennis Allen, trust me, there's a problem.
Well, George, hey, you talked about just getting back from New York City. How's about going back for the New Era Pinstripe Bowl as your sons in Notre Dame will be there?
I told my sons the other day, I am not going back to New York for that bowl game. I mean, and they're playing Rutgers. I mean, come on. And then you look at the selection. They had a chance to play in Florida where they could recruit heavy and make an impression with Florida players, or they could have gone to Arizona where they could have made an impression with Arizona and California. And they chose the Pinstripe Bowl in New York in the dead of winter, and because of there's more money. So it tells me that the head coach don't have a clue as far as what the whole system is about as far as recruiting and winning. You go to New York in the cold or dead winter to play, you're not going to recruit anything out of New York when you pass up Florida, Arizona,
George,
So I'm not going back, and whatever happens in New York is a pinstripe ball with Notre Dame. Hey, that happens to them. I'm not going back to that.
I just thought you might relish the opportunity to be in Times Square and to share a cup of hot cocoa in Rockefeller Center.
I just left.
Hey.
I just left Times Square. And, when you start putting money over the fact that you can, build for the future and help your college, then that tells me a lot, too. Well, why don't you pay these guys, these kids who you prostituting to go out and play for you in a dead of winter to make more money for the university? Why don't you share some of that with them? Something's wrong with this system. And Coach Kelly, if he hears this, or if you go through Chicago, I say shame on you, my man. Because I think he lost a hell of an opportunity to recruit out of either California or Florida to go to New York for the money. I think something's inherently wrong with that, and I've lost a lot of respect for him, to
George,
be honest.
this is as fired up as we've ever gotten you. We've talked about Lynn Swann, we've talked about Otis Taylor, we've talked about rivalries, and you want to go after Coach Kelly and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and your sons they're flourishing there, having great careers, though. We do have to bring that up.
You know what lets me know this toy's broke? You go from 12-0 to 8-4, 9-4. Something's wrong with that pitch.
Hey, you're right. George, I tell you what,
Something's wrong with that pitch.
we could not thank you enough. You are our favorite guest to come on here, and we want to do this as much. And we'll save this for another day. I'll tell you what, we'll talk some college football, talk some recruiting. I know your sons are having a very good career there.
Whatever you want to, I'll be more than happy, because I have an opinion about college football, especially Notre Dame football.
We will definitely do it. I tell you what, George, you are always on point. Always love having you. I tell you what, good luck to the Raiders this Sunday in the Black Holes. The Chiefs travel out there, and I'll say it again. Good luck in that new era Pinstripe Bowl against Rutgers. Your sons out there, man, they need the win, regardless of where it's played.
Right.
But hey, we appreciate it, George. We'll be in touch, man. We'll definitely do a college football segment with you soon. You stay good out there, and we'll be in touch.
You got it, my friend. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Always great to hear from our boy, George Atkinson. Tell you what, every time we have him on the show, I just have more adulation for this guy. And I don't know, Noah, it makes me want to like remove my red shirt and under it be a big silver and black skull and crossbones. Not really, but I do like George Atkinson a lot.
Yes, we love George. Love having him on the show. Always brings it. Great former legend for the Oakland Raiders, and it's going to be an easy game, a cakewalk for the Kansas City Chiefs, I think. Just like last week, the Raiders, if they haven't given up, they're darn close to it. Matt McGloin, Darren McFadden out. It's just going to be so easy.
The Chiefs have had a lot of success in the black hole in the past. The Chiefs, of course, lost there in 2012. It was just a horrible Kansas City Chiefs team. But I think the Chiefs have only lost there twice since 2002, if I have it in my head correctly. I don't have this in front of me. I'm pretty sure the Chiefs have only lost twice in Oakland since 2002. That's insane.
That is. I mean, you think about going anywhere on the road for that long and having that kind of winning streak against them. That shows you that after that Super Bowl appearance for the Oakland Raiders against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just how far they've fallen. And boy, have they really fallen. They just cannot get back on track no matter what coach, what quarterback they bring in, what draft picks.
Yep.
They just cannot get it right. And it's a sinking ship, and they're just...
Well, I'll tell you what, we're having a big-time guest. We're getting ready to bring JJ Burton on. The former Chiefs receiver is going to come on after this break. A couple segments with JJ. We're going to go back into the old days, back into the time of the tomahawk chop when it was legit, back to the time of great defense, Joe Montana, Marcus Allen, Neil Smith, Derek Thomas. We're going to get into all of it with our man JJ Burton coming up next. And welcome back to the Outsider Sports Show here on KKES-FM. We are being joined currently by former Chiefs wide receiver JJ Burton. JJ, thanks for joining us, man. How's everything in your world, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great, Clint. No, I appreciate you guys inviting me.
Oh, it's no. We are forever in your debt for you being on here with us today. And first off, I just want to go back because, of course, let's just face it, you were an Oregon Duck almost before it was cool to be an Oregon Duck. I mean, the Oregon is the it team. You're in Eugene, Oregon. Talk about your time there and how things have changed there in Eugene for the Ducks.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I love how you phrase that. Oregon is definitely the team right now, and yeah, the years I was there in the '80s, we were kind of fighting for respect, and I think we went, 1-9 my first year. Then we went 5-6, 5-6, and 6-5, and I left. But I like to say we were kind of the foundation. We were the beginning of what you see today, because all of a sudden our recruiting got better. We got better athletes. We had more depth, and then of course Phil Nye kicked in, and the rest is history after that.
Can you talk about your draft day experience? You're picked up by Marty Schottenheimer. You get the phone call, not with the Kansas City Chiefs, but with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, sure. Well, that was interesting for me because I was a track athlete at Oregon. I went up there on a track scholarship. I was going to the Nationals, going to the Olympic trials, and that was really my first, love, so to speak. But I got to the combine. I did well, and then I was drafted. I remember arguing with my agent. I was like, okay, I'm not getting drafted. I'm going to class. And he's like, you need to stay there, So I get this call out of the blue, and it's like, hey, kid, this is Marty Schottenheimer. And I was like, wow. No, it isn't. But it was Marty, and Marty said 8th round Cleveland Brown. And so he drafted me, and I went off to Cleveland, and, things didn't start out the way I wanted. I tore up my ACL, which ended my track career, but ironically started my football career, and I guess the rest is history from there.
What was it like playing for Marty in Cleveland? You first get there. What was it like playing for that legendary coach?
I kind of connected with Marty right away because Marty was kind of old school, kind of hardcore, intense and all that. But, Marty was a fair guy. You worked hard. You did your job. You had no problems with Marty. He rewarded you. But if you didn't do what you were supposed to do, obviously Marty was on you. And I enjoyed working with Marty. I learned a lot from him. He was one of the more diversified coaches I ever knew because he could coach every single position out there, which really impressed me. And so there's no mystery as to why I followed Marty to Kansas City.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to bring up next. Of course, in 1990, you wind up back with Marty in Kansas City, and you were part of 5 straight playoff bursts. I mean, this was the golden era of the Kansas City Chiefs organization. I mean, I don't even know where to start. Just talk about what it was like. I mean, you played for 3 different quarterbacks, and Joe Montana comes in '93. Like, there's just so much going on. But just talk about your time in Kansas City and some of your favorite memories from then.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed my days in KC. We had very solid teams. Getting to the playoffs was kind of like no big deal. It was expected. I mean, obviously our goal was to get to the Super Bowl, but I got to play with some pretty outstanding athletes. You go in, and all of a sudden you're playing with Steve DeBerg, someone who's been around the game a long time, but still had some good years in. And then we get Dave Craig, once again a proven veteran. But I gotta admit, when we signed Joe Montana and then obviously Marcus Allen, we were all very excited. I was a little surprised about that one. I didn't see that one coming, but I remember sitting in my first meeting and looking to my right and seeing Joe Montana, and looking to my left and seeing Marcus, and I was like, you gotta be kidding. It took a little time to get used to being in the huddle with those guys, but there was definitely a new sense of excitement. We really felt that we had a team that could get to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, we lost to Buffalo after Montana got knocked out in that game, but I felt good about the years in KC. We always made it to the playoffs. We had very competitive teams, and Marty did his job. They say Marty Ball was this, that, or what, but the guy knew how to win. He knew how to get to the playoffs. Unfortunately, we never got to the Super Bowl.
Can you go back playing for Marty, the '93 team? I mean, can you just talk about times like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think the '93 team was extra special because one is, once again, you get these new players. I think the attitude, I think just the anticipation of us really going deep in the playoffs was something we expected, and then just the way we did it. I mean, we're playing at home against Pittsburgh. I believe we were down, by a couple points, and I remember someone blocked a punt, and then the game kind of turned around, and then, we drive at the end, and we win that game, and then we go to Houston. Once again, we're behind, and Warren Moon and those guys are running up and down the field, but we never gave up. We believed we could get it done, and Joe kind of led the charge. We came back, and I remember, guys, after that game, how excited we were in the locker room, and we were saying, just think if we win next week. We think we're excited now. Man, we're going to be just going nuts if we win next week. And unfortunately, that was the only setback. We didn't get to experience what it was like to go to the Super Bowl, but great memories memories for sure.
Well, and I'm going back to a game in 1994. You are on Sunday Night Football playing, of course, Joe Montana at the helm, and on the road at Atlanta, which you later became an Atlanta Falcon. But I seem to remember you catching a touchdown from Joe Montana and doing an early version of the Dirty Bird in the end zone. Do you remember this, or did I dream that?
Well, I don't know if it was a Dirty Bird, but I do remember scoring 2 touchdowns in that game and being a little creative in the end zone. And I told my wife, I said, I think I performed too well in that game, because after that, Atlanta was definitely after me after the season. So
we got to hold that against them then, because I think they not only took you, but maybe the Dirty Bird dance from you, because I think it kind of evolved from there. But you finished your career in Atlanta, and I mean, talk about your experience there. Was Kansas City the high point for you, or were there other great memories, of course, in Atlanta as well?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. KC was really the highlight. It was, it's interesting because being a receiver, a speed guy, and all that, I always thought I would fit better in Atlanta's offense. I wanted to get in the run and shoot, and I figured I'd go from catching 40, 50 balls in KC to maybe catching 80 and 90 and get to a Pro Bowl. But I quickly learned that, there's 4 different receivers, there's 1 ball, and not everybody's going to be catching 80 balls. And I didn't really have the seasons I expected to have in Atlanta. So definitely, KC was the highlight. I would have loved to stay in Kansas City, and trust me, I tried to, but, they felt that, Atlanta wanted me a little bit more. But when I think of my days in NFL, I always focus more on the Kansas City Chiefs days.
There's a rumor going around that you are Marty's favorite. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think Marty and I had a connection, but I'll tell you what, I never messed up. I didn't, piss Marty off. I was always on time. I did my job. I did everything I needed to do, and I think that was probably one of the reasons why Marty liked me, because he could always count on me. So the guys used to tease me, but I said, hey, I don't know anything else but to perform at the highest level, and that's what I try to do there.
What about Marty's speeches? 1 play at a time, focus and finish. Did people buy into that?
Well, I know when I was there, we bought into it. I mean, I can remember all his sayings, and my favorite one was, the system works. He'd say, hey, men, bring your lunch boxes to work, because we're going to work. But trust me, guys, the system works. And he would say that, and you know what? I couldn't argue with Marty, because we got to the playoffs every single year. So he had some good one-liners, but I definitely remember that one the most.
It was his birthday Sunday. He turned 69 years old. Did you connect with him at all or wish him a happy birthday?
69? Marty is?
Yeah.
Wow. No, I was not aware of that. I don't even know where he is these days.
Yeah, no, that's. I want to go back quickly to Oregon. I mean, you were a smaller receiver for the NFL, a 5'9", 160 pound. I mean, what is it about the University of Oregon that has been so synonymous with track success? I mean, not only is it a great football school now, I mean, it's always been a great track school. Why is that?
Well, I think it's, because, the Ducks don't balk at the idea of a football player also running track. When I was being recruited in college, I had a lot of the major track schools that wanted me, and every time I would mention football, they were like, no way, no way. But Oregon was like, okay, maybe we could help you do that. We could see you doing that. But they said, hey, just run track the first year, and we'll take it from there. And they had a great arrangement with the football coach, Rich Brooks at the time, which carried over to Bellotti and I guess to Chip Kelly too. As long as the players spent, a certain amount of time in spring ball, they were all 4 of the guys improving their speed on the track, because they know it would benefit them in football. So one thing that people don't know, though, and I think I'm the only one that pulled this off, I only had to go through 1 spring ball all my years at Oregon. And now they have all the athletes at least go through spring ball, then do track, but I only had to do 1, so that was pretty cool.
What are some of the strongest relationships you formed here in Kansas City? I mean, were you and Willie Davis close? What other players were you really close with?
Yeah, Willie and I were very close. I mean, all the receivers, of course, I was very tight with Keith Cash, Damon Hughes, and it's amazing because now with social media, you can stay in contact with everyone. You're able to communicate with all your ex-teammates. I think, honestly, guys, the 2 guys that I probably haven't communicated with since I retired was Marcus Allen and Joe Montana. Those are the only 2 I probably haven't seen.
Wow. Well, and, talking about teammates, I mean,
of course, you played with the legendary Derek Thomas. I mean, what were you doing? What were you up to when you got the phone call that he had been in the accident, and then later that he had passed away? And how was that? How did that affect you?
Yeah, I was. I think I was working at the time, and I remember, getting an email from a couple of guys. Did you hear about Derek? And I was like, what? And I went on the internet and did some research, and yeah, that was a bit of a shock, because here you've got this man, this massive man, this athlete who was just almost invincible, and to hear what happened, and then when he actually died, that was definitely very disheartening. You knew how much that not only his teammates, not only the community, but just the game of football really respected him as a person and as a player, and it was definitely a loss.
Oh yeah, we all miss Derek. Who was the toughest corner that you faced during your time in the NFL? I mean, was it Dale Carter in practice, or?
That's a good one.
Well, I tell you, Dale was very good, but I'm still to say to this day the best corner I ever went against was Deion Sanders. Yeah. He was by far the best. I mean, he wasn't technically sound. Maybe you could kind of beat him on the line, all that, but that guy's athletic ability always made up for his mistakes. And when I look at all the corners, because there were some good ones. There was the guys in it, the Raiders like Terry McDaniel, and of course I went against Woodson and Dale. But prime time, clearly the best.
And we will be right back with more from JJ Burton.
Well, and our listeners would definitely want to hear what you're up to these days, where you're living at, and how things are going for you. Just kind of give us an update.
Yeah, happy to. Well, I'm actually living in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm from Portland, Oregon, but we got tired of the rain, and so we moved down here 2 years ago. My wife, 22 years, we're here, and all our kids are here, and we're definitely enjoying the area down here. Once I retired, I got involved in a couple businesses and did the kind of corporate thing for a while, but over the last 5 years, I got involved in a healthy chocolate company. So now we're actually part of a direct selling business called Shosai Healthy Chocolate, showing people how to get healthy, eating healthy chocolate. So having fun, and it's going really, really well.
Oh, it's great to hear. Going back to your days with Joe Montana, when he came in, was that intimidating? I think you alluded a little bit to that, but was he tough on you guys, wanting it to get perfect?
Well, he wasn't, Joe wasn't tough, like, verbally. He was kind of more of a silent leader, but you clearly knew that this guy was at another level, and we better step up our game. I can remember the very first play in practice with Joe Montana, and we were running an X curl, and I remember when I ran the curl, he threw the ball and it hit me in the back of the head. And I was like, uh-oh. And he calls me over, he says, I want you to understand something. I don't wait for you to get open. I throw it to an area and I expect you to be there, so get used to getting your head around quicker. Well, from that moment on, Joe never hit me in the back head anymore because I got it right away. But just the way that he prepared was amazing. The way he would break the huddle and analyze everything, kind of like, the Peyton Mannings of today, and know what play to go to. I was just so impressed that it kept me on my game to make sure that I knew all the audibles, I knew all the adjustments, because you never knew when Joe was about to change the play.
Can you go back to October 17th, 1994, Monday Night Football, Montana versus Elway? Montana and Marty get their first win in Denver, and just that whole game, and that was a crazy game. Tracy Green, we had him on. He made a big catch at the end of the game, and then obviously with Willie Davis scoring the touchdown with 13 seconds left.
Yeah, that was a good memory because I was part of all the years where Elway was driving down with a minute or two, throwing the ball 80 yards across the field and beating us at the end. That happened over and over. So it was nice to be on the other side. And, my memories of that game was just, we had the attitude, we're going to win this time. We're going to win this time. And Elway drives the team down there. They score. We got a minute and a half or whatever. But just the confidence that Joe exuded kind of transformed to us, and we knew we were going to win this game. We're getting down the field. We're going to win this game. And I remember driving down, and that last play was X-corner, because I remember it was a corner route for me, and I got double-teamed. But you saw Joe do what he does best, go through the progression, and there was Willie Davis in the corner, and he threw it only where Willie could catch it and get right in the end zone. Yeah. Definitely an exciting memory.
One of our best memories, certainly, from the early days. I mean, Also, one more play I wanted to ask you about is in the playoffs, and this involved another teammate of yours that I wanted to bring up, Tim Barnett. Joe Montana on a 4th down in that 94 playoff game against the Steelers. It's do or die, and Joe Montana goes through about 4 or 5 progressions, throws a laser to Tim Barnett. What do you remember about that play and that cold game at Arrowhead, and the last playoff win at Arrowhead? That's the last one that's ever happened.
Well, to your surprise, the one thing I have to remember is the joke that Joe told in the huddle on that play. I can't remember the actual joke, but I remember the seriousness of that moment. And Joe came in and cracked the joke, and I was like, okay, wait a minute. This is not normal. But I think it was his way to relax us. But yeah, as we went through the play, I remember it was the next play. It came to my side. But Joe, again, just like you said, just his ability to be calm and not panic and go through the progressions. And I think Tim was like the 4th or 5th read on that play. But Joe knew where to put it, Tim caught it, and the rest is history.
Wow, so many great times back in the day. I mean, JJ, you've had such a great career, and what do you keep up with now? I mean, you played for 4 NFL teams. I mean, do you still consider yourself a Chiefs fan, or do you just kind of watch the NFL as a whole and just kind of take it for what it is?
Well, I definitely watch it as a whole. I enjoy it. It's interesting how the older I get, I enjoy it more. I kind of went through that period where a lot of players kind of like, I'm tired of football. I don't want to watch any football. Sure. But it's more exciting now with the emergence of fantasy football. It's gotten a little bit more exciting. But, yeah, I do consider myself a Chief. Obviously I got great memories in Atlanta. I still appreciate the Browns who drafted me. Even the year I was with Cowboys that one year. But still, I think of myself more as a Chief, and that's kind of where I'm rooting for the Chiefs first, next to any other team out there. But it's exciting to kind of watch the game these days.
You talked about the tough transition, leaving the game of football. We've heard stories about Joe Phillips. Did you have anything like that? I mean, just heartbreak, leaving the game and just not being able to deal with it?
Well, no, not me, because you know what, guys, I didn't expect to play in the NFL. I mean, I'm 5'10", 160. I wasn't like a lot of these guys who expected it. It kind of happened. I'm a track guy, and I tear up my knee at minicamp, and next thing you know, I'm with the Browns, and it just kind of happened. So I took every day, one day at a time, as something, as a privilege, and hey, let me see if I can play another year. By the time the 9th year came, I had already played 9 years, and I had my share of injuries, and my priorities changed, and I want to focus more on my family and my faith and all that. But I thought, you know what? I'm healthy enough. I can walk away from the game now and move forward. And I was always planning for life after football. So for me, it was a very easy decision to say, I'm done. Next chapter, let's move forward.
Speaking about your health, you say you're healthy. Many players, there's a big lawsuit with the concussions and everything. Have you had any problems? You say you're healthy. That's great news.
Yeah, I'm healthy, but I mean, yes, I definitely fit in the category of what do you call cumulative trauma. I mean, I'm not running around here with dementia or anything like that, but I do agree with the fight that's going on for health coverage. I mean, a lot of us, we can't get covered, for certain health coverage because we've got these injuries from the past that our insurance company won't cover. I've got 2 bad shoulders that I know I'm going to have surgery on, and it's an issue with health insurance. And so I definitely understand and agree with the fight. The whole concussion thing, obviously, that's another chapter, but I got to tell you something. If there's anything they need to do, they need to provide health coverage for these players, especially as they age and get older, because they're having knee replacement and shoulder surgery, and the insurance is really won't cover it. So a fight that we continue fighting, so hopefully they'll take care of us.
Oh, absolutely. And us as fans, we want to know that the players that entertain us every day on Sundays are you want to know that those guys are being taken care of, because it's just not a good situation to have guys, in Junior Seau, for instance. I mean, do you feel like that's something that comes from just years of taking such a pounding? I mean, does it really cause psychological problems?
Oh, definitely. Definitely, because I think about the concussions I had probably about 3 that was on record, but all the ones I had in practice. But I'm not a linebacker who's probably getting anywhere from 4 to 5 a game. I mean, you just imagine the residual effect of that. Yes, there's going to be some kind of result, and we're seeing it every year, every month, or every day now from what's happened to these players.
Well, I'll tell you what, JJ, we are just about out of time. I cannot possibly thank you enough. This is pure gold today with you, JJ Burton, and I really hope we can have you back on again sometime as the season progresses. Cannot thank you enough. You are the man, seriously.
Hey guys, well, I appreciate you for thinking about me and giving me the opportunity anytime. And for all those listening, just go to www.jjburton.com and see what I'm into.
We will do it. We'll link that up on our Facebook page for you too as well. And just good luck, and we'll keep in contact for sure, my man.
All right, guys. Great time. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks a lot.
You too. Thanks a lot, JJ.
Bye now.
So great to catch up with our man JJ Burton, recalling all those great memories. Me growing up, I remember JJ Burton, Tim Barnett, Willie Davis, that receiving core, and those guys were very instrumental growing up, just watching them play. And of course, the rapport they had with Joe Montana in '93 and '94. Last time they won a playoff game was with JJ. And just brings back a lot of fond memories. JJ's a great guy.
Yeah, it does. Got into his career with the Oregon Ducks, first getting drafted by Marty with the Cleveland Browns, following him to Kansas City. And he really looks back on the Kansas City with fond memories over the other stops he made in the NFL.
I'll tell you what, huge thanks to JJ Burton and to, of course, George Atkinson for joining us. And I mean, just letting Notre Dame have it on the air right here. He informed us to relay to Brian Kelly his feelings on this Notre Dame situation.
And we will get that to him, and hopefully we will get the venue changed to somewhere warmer, maybe in George's backyard, and he can enjoy watching his sons playing the game instead of not going because of the weather in New York.
Well, it's too bad. I just had this grand vision of George and his family and his sons, at kind of like the scene in Home Alone 2 where Kevin McAllister's mom sees him at Rockefeller Center in front of that Christmas tree. They share a cup of hot cocoa. They take it all in. They talk some football. They walk through Times Square. They walk through Central Park. And now that's just been blown away. George is not going to be there, not going to be sharing in that moment.
He just got back from there. He cannot go back December 28th for the New Era Pinstripe Bowl.
Hey,
it is far too cold. It's just going to get colder for George. You can't take it.
Bro, I tell you what, George is Sean Salisbury, Jeff Chudilla, those two guys, and George Atkinson, those are my favorite guys to have on this show. I love George
top
Atkinson.
Three. Can't put them in order. They're just top three great.
Well, guys, stay warm this weekend. Stay out of the snow. Don't make any naked snow angels out there. Thanks for joining us here on The Hog. Clint Switzer, Noah Groniger, The Outsider Sports Show. Check out our website, outsidersportshow.weebly.com. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Look for The Outsider Sports Show. Follow us on all of them. Give us your feedback. We love to hear it. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend.
It's gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right.